my name is Cox, and this is my professional development on improving school culture. First, we need to understand what school culture is. And school culture refers to the way teachers and other staff members work together and the set of beliefs, values, and assumptions they share. A positive school climate and school culture promotes students' ability to learn. So our learning goals for this professional development is creating a better understanding of the school's cultural, racial, and socioeconomic background, addressing how racial differences affect student learning, reevaluating one's perception of teaching culturally different students, and new understanding of the teaching and reaching of all students. So how can we achieve our goals? So first, like I said, we have to understand our school's culture. Our school's demographics are as follows. If you look at the student demographics, we have 776 students, 251 students are white, 480 students are African American, 26 are Hispanic, 16 are Asian, and then 4 are Native American. Now in comparison, if we look at our teacher demographics, out of the 65 teachers that work on this campus currently, 40 teachers are white, 20 teachers are African American, and 15 identify as other. So as you can see, even though the school has a majority of African American students, the majority of teachers are white. And that sometimes leads to misconceptions and issues at the school. So issues and problems that I have identified and noticed at our school is that there's a continuous defiance of students we are middle school in a middle school setting. So even though our rules and the consequences are consistently enforced by the faculty, we have low performing scores within the regular student body, discrepancies in student-faculty relationship, and the understanding of each other's cultural background, especially between the white teachers and African American students. And then those are non-intentional misconceptions of these cultural differences, but these misconceptions have a negative effect on the overall school climate and school culture, and therefore leads to a lot of disrespect and disrespectful behavior of the students, and frustration in the adults therefore. Because all the teachers are doing the same thing, but the students are not responding to what we're doing. We're consistent with what we're doing. So another goal for this professional development is, so for things how we can change this, is that we improve our own cultural awareness. And by that I mean is, so we don't imply our own cultural beliefs onto our students. So therefore I read some books recently, and if you want to become more aware of your cultural beliefs, how you portray maybe or identify that if you're portraying your cultural beliefs onto others in general, or the students even that you're teaching, these are some great book suggestions, and one is called For White Folks Who Teach in the Hood by Christopher Emdin. This book guides you through the experience of the author and his experience with students of different cultural upbringings and how he was aware. It's not only African Americans, also he talks about Alaskan students that have a completely cultural different background than we regular white people have. Then the next book is called White Fragility, Why It Is So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. And that explores the counterproductive reactions of white people when their assumed or assumptions about race are challenged. And then it also talks about how these reactions maintain racial inequality. And then the next one is A Framework for Understanding Poverty by Ruby K. Payne. And this provides the reader with a foundation for understanding the hidden rules of poverty, middle class, and wealth, and offers strategies to address the impact of poverty on people's lives. So as you can see, culture is not, someone's cultural upbringing is not just like the beliefs and values, but they come from also from how much money the family has to raise their child. and then of course the race of the child. So these are all parts of the cultural upbringing of a student or anyone like us too. Then what I also found are some TED Talks that address the importance of understanding and maintaining a positive school culture. And so these three, and I'll send you all the link for the PowerPoint so you can watch them. They're too lengthy for this assignment, but I encourage you to watch them on your own time. So those are just three diverse voices that answer questions which often lead to conflict at schools. We have Linda Clyde Wayman. She's a principal, or she was a principal at a school, and she's talking about her experience and how she fixed that broken school. Then we have Victor Rios. He's telling us his experience, how he helped kids that the education system ignored. And then we have Rita Pearson that also talks about her teaching and administration success with students, just by showing them that she has their back, or that what impact you have on a student by just having their back. So our next main point to talk about is improved communication. So communication benefits individuals of a school community by allowing and establishing a positive school culture. So first of all, I want you to look at these 4 different communication styles there are. So we have passive, passive-aggressive, aggressive, and assertive communication style. And I want you to reflect here for a second on which communication style you are. Like, you don't have to share. I just want you to read and think about and be honest with yourself of what communication type you are when you approach students or faculty or your administration. Maybe you even want to make it situation-based. Maybe you say, well, sometimes I'm actually more aggressive if I read this, or sometimes I'm more passive when it comes to adults. I just want you to reflect for a second. I will take a sip. Okay, so now it's okay whichever communication type or style you have. The point is that you improve the way you communicate. So there are different ways you can communicate: verbal, which is face-to-face, or on the phone. There's a lot of things that you have to watch out for, is like your tone or the speed of the speed of how fast you're talking. Then there's nonverbal, your body language, like if you're rolling your eyes, if you cross your arms, or if you those are the negative body language types. Like I talk a lot with my hands, which are gestures. So they're all nonverbal communication types or ways of communicating. Then we have written communication, is when you write a note or a comment for your students' work, or an email to your administrator, or to the school board, or to faculty members. And then we also have visualization, which are graphs and charts and maps. Those are all ways to communicate. So tools that we can use while we communicate is, I like VoiceTown. That's a good program that can help us help the students to communicate better, because sometimes they don't know better, and we have to lead them and we have to show them how to be successful in communicating. Then also Google Classroom and Remind are 2 great ways to communicate with your students and the parents. And then for the graphs and charts, for the visualization part of communication, is good when you show any type of improvements of students, of your classrooms or just a student, so they can see in pictures how their success improved, or their grades in your classroom, their performance improved over time. Then the next one is establishing trust through collaboration. So trust is a very big thing in a school, in any school. Very great, good foundation for having that positive school climate. So one way is teachers have to collaborate with each other. So we have to build in a structure. So we all have to have rules, or not rules, but we have to figure out how we want to work together. So that has to be established, so building a structure. You have to decide how you will manage conflict. Brainstorm about individual kids. Those are another way of a great way to collaborate with your peers, especially if you have a problem with a student, and you can go to another teacher that you know has a really good rapport with that student to collaborate of how you can reach that kid, and then learn from each other. So that we can do mentor programs, peer observations, and all these things just to get better as a faculty, to also learn to trust each other by helping. Then of course we need to have a great teacher-student collaboration, and teachers and students can collaborate through many different activities and clubs at our school. And like, for example, I'm the 4-H leader. It's a great way to get to know your the students, often not even my students that I teach, but other students, get to know them. I see them on campus a lot. Then we have student council, a great way for students to learn leadership. We have athletics. It's a very great point to go and support the football team or basketball, whatever, soccer, all the sports that we have on our campus, that we'll see that, so the students can see, hey, that teacher cares about, she don't teach me, but at least I know she cares about the success of this team during this game. Or even if it's a student, a lot of my students come and ask me, hey, Ms. Cox, can you come and watch me play volleyball, or can you come and watch me at the football game? And it's very important for them to know that you're there for them. Because like I said, we have also like a very low or high percentage of students with low socioeconomic backgrounds, where parents don't or are not that involved, and you're sometimes the only person they know that comes and supports them during a game. And then speech and debate is also another school activity that students can do. So then it comes to parent and community involvement. So it's very important that we get parents involved into our school, because when we have parents and school working together to have the student, or get the student successful, it's a great way for everyone. So we have parent-teacher organization. Then we can invite guest speakers. We can have a family community involvement night, also for students to, or for families to share what their cultural background is. We have a career day where parents could come and tell us about their jobs, what they do, volunteer opportunities. We have games or dances where parents can just be chaperoning or collecting the money for the entrance or for the game. And then sponsorship for our athletic teams, get parents, companies involved to sponsor our school or an event or the athletics department. So here we have that triangle: family, community, and school working hand in hand. And the benefit for this whole thing is that if schools, families, and communities collaborate and work together, we have less student dropouts, a higher attendance, which makes sense, because if a student sees that everyone is on their side, wants them to do well, that the parents and the teachers all want them to achieve their goal, they want to come to school and learn. And then we have therefore also higher college enrollment rate after high school graduation. So this is why it's a very important thing for us to collaborate and improve the school culture. So the last point is to get students on our side. And by that I mean that we all become one team. often, or recently what I see, or what I have noticed over the past few years working at the school, is that it's always students against teachers. Teachers trying to, or the majority of the teachers trying to involve the students or get to know the students, but the students are very resilient. So one is that we work on our school-wide PBIS better, or more actively. Like recently, in the last 2 years, we rarely had anything that would make students work for it, or to gain their points. So we have to get some reward ideas, but we can also make it very easy for us by getting the PBIS rewards app, and so we can just scan students' IDs and reward them right then and there, so they can collect their points for whatever we have. And we can also do that for staff, because teachers are a very important role in the student's life, and if they see that if the students see that the teacher wants to do well or wants the school to do better, then they will tag along. And then also classroom specific, so the other one was for the whole school. And then in the classroom specific, this flexible classroom environment, establish classroom rules and routines. Students need to know what you want from them. They have to have clear expectations. If you let one student do one thing and the other student does it the same way and it gets in trouble, that's not fair. So they have to be clear rules, the clear routines, and then set by clear expectations. Let students learn from mistakes. No one is perfect. I make plenty of mistakes. But if they do make a mistake, you correct the behavior, let them learn from it, and then move on. And then, of course, also, if the student does the correct behavior, you have to praise them. Everyone likes to be praised. So, in conclusion and closing words, so why does our school's culture need to change, first of all? Because we have to accept cultural diversity. We want to decrease our defiant behavior on campus. Safer learning environment. It also increases our school performance because students pay attention and they want to do well. They want to make the school proud with their performance scores. And it also has a strong faculty to role model to students the importance of being on the same page. It all starts with us. We're the teachers, we're the adults. We're on a campus 6th through 8th grade. Our students range from 11 through 14 years old, maybe 15. They're children, okay? So we as the adults have to set the tone. So we need to change. Some of us need to change more than others, but we need to change into a more positive direction, in which the students and faculty feel safer and more welcome. Understanding and embracing the different cultures within our school, and use its advantages to create a positive school culture that accepts and understands different values. And this can be achieved by those 5 points that I just talked about: understanding our school's cultural diversity, understanding one's own cultural awareness, improve communication, establish trust through collaboration, and then getting students on our side. And then, because it starts with us, but in the end, it's all about the student, okay? So the student needs to feel more empowered and valued when they feel more empowered and valued when their diverse cultural backgrounds are included in their schools. Like, if I know that when Christmas time comes around and I know that one of my students, because her parents are Muslims or they're Jewish, they don't celebrate that, they value that and they feel more included if I also talk about these holidays important to those religions, because we all know that Christmas is a Christian holiday, so we have to embrace them all, not just one. Just maybe because I'm Christian and I like to celebrate Christmas doesn't mean that everyone celebrates that. So again, it's about the student, and we have to make them feel like they belong to what we're doing every day. And here are my references for this presentation. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.